Okay, so I'm in Illustrator here, and first thing I want to do is, if you don't have this screen here, you can go to New File, and if you don't have letter here, because we are using letter size, so it's 8.5 by 11, you can change this into inches, and then make sure it says 8.5 by 11. We're going to hit Create. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to come over here to our ellipse. If you don't have any ellipse down here, you might have a rectangle, so you want to keep that pressed. Go down to ellipse, click once. I believe that the shape that we're going to make, since we have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, 8 inches, 8.5 inches being the width, I think that we would be fine with a 1.25 circle. So 1.25 by 1.25. Okay, you're going to go up to your move tool, and you see this is a new little dialog window that pops up here. If we click on this little icon down here, the repeat icon, and then go to radial, you see that we just repeated it 8 times over here. So if you look at this, it's 8 times. So let's change this to 12, since we are doing 12-step color wheel. And now I believe that this circle here on the, looks like the radius is 0.94. Let's see if we could bring it up. Let's go back down. Just bring it back. Grab one of the circles here. If you go to the outside here, you could grab it, move it. So you want to center it. Sometimes it snaps to the center depending on your settings under view. So since we have our circles set, we have to create the names. So we want to create our circle for the outside. So then you're going to go over to your type tool, keep it pressed, type on a path, click on the path, and then we can just label. So I would change this font to something a little bit more bold and bigger. So let's see if we get Helvetica bold and make sure it's selected. So I did have it deselected. I want to make sure it's selected so that when I go and change it to Helvetica and use Helvetica bold, it's going to change it. So I want like point size to go up to about 20, maybe a little less than that. So once you have your size here, you want to keep everything consistent. So what I would do is hit Option, and if you go to the path, you want to click on it, drag it to move it off to the side. Right. So now in this one, I'm just going to rotate it around. Say that I want to start with blue up top. So let's select all that's on our workspace, and let's make sure it's on the workspace. We're just going to move it down a little bit. I'm going to center it just a little bit more there. That should be good there. So then once you have this set for blue, you want to, it's going to be right there. I want to go to Object and expand it so that you just have it here as a shape. Go back to our type on the line tool, and then just change this to red for the second primary. To red. Go over here. Make sure you make a copy. Move it this way, and I would make sure that it was on the right plane. So I could just make a duplicate and go straight across, holding down Shift, so that I don't have to worry about it changing when it's, see how the blue kind of lands on that line. So you want it to land on the line. So if you have blue, then we would have tertiary, secondary, tertiary, primary. It's a primary, tertiary, secondary, tertiary, primary. So then this will be our next primary. So we want to go from here. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. So then that would be our red. Then you want to go to type, create outlines again. And we're going to move this one back over here by duplicating it with the arrow keys. Make sure it kind of lines up with both of them. And we can change this to yellow. So now we will rotate it. It's red. So it should be 3 in between. 1, 2, 3, and then yellow. So in between the primaries are 3 circles each. I'm going to fast forward it from here, and when I'm finished, I will go over the rest. I think that this outside with all the circles is maybe too close to the border. So if I select all of these guys and I deselect the middle, because I don't want the circles to get resized also, I'll just resize it to pretty small, but at least you still can read it. But it looks better to be in the middle. All right, so then what I want to do is I want to do a P and create a circle. Now I want to move this circle behind the P. So I'm going to object, arrange, send to back. Now I'll take the P and I'm going to change it over top and then change the P to white so we could see it there. So I'm going to duplicate this and I'm just going to change the to an S. I'll duplicate this one. When I'm duplicating, I'm just holding down Option. You can see when I hold down Option and I roll over what's selected, it turns to a double kind of arrow there, the icon. That's when I know I can duplicate. So then a T for, so what these mean is I'm going to come up here, I'm going to put E, that's T, then it's going to be primary, just a little bit smaller, 18, let's go down to 12, primary, secondary, all right? So then we can grab our P, we'll group it, Command G for object group, and you take the P and bring it down, make the primary, let's hold Option selected, then we're going to take it to the red primary and the yellow primary. Now we can grab our S, we can bring this over to the secondary range, and if we can make sure we group this Command G or object, and you go to group up here. Since it's grouped, it's already not highlighted. So we'll go to secondary here, and we can go to our secondary here. Now we just have the tertiary colors. Bring it down to here, duplicate it over to here, duplicate it to all the tertiary colors we have listed. All right, so that's how we're going to set it up. So this is our 12-step color wheel. Now we're going to do our tints and the shades. So I'm just going to copy this over here. I'm just going to write tints, make sure it's written correctly, tints, and then duplicate this for shade. So now line this up. Let's just do copy this. Let's put it in the same box. So I want these tints and shades to be about, I would say, let's see if we could do an inch. So we'll click once, do one, see how that looks. Make sure it's outlined. We can do our tints to be here. What I want to do is make sure you do at least 6. So we'll just make a copy, bring it out to the other side, select both of these without the tints and shades selected. So I'm going to select both of these, and let's see if we have another option here. No. All right, so then we're going to just do a object, blend, make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, you don't want to just stretch it this way. You want to double click on one of these here and just move that one over just like that. So now we double click on it, so into this object. So we want to go back to the original, and we can select all of these, move them back a little bit, maybe move them up because we need to make another row for the shades. So create shades here. Could go back into our text and just make sure that these work here. So you always want to design, think about design. So like there's not a whole lot of space down here, so I'm going to move everything up. It's centered. Now this bottom, we select here, give it a little space to breathe. So there is our sheet for getting ready to use it for when you mix the clay. So what you would do is before you print or before you go ahead and create your version that you have to print, select all, go to object, expand. We're going to expand everything. So I just want to make sure that you guys still think about design and how to make this look a little bit better. So what I would do is even do something a little bit more than just what we have here. Maybe make a shape, put it into the background. Take our tints and shades, make this white. We can move this down a little bit. Now we want to grab our row here, and we want to change the fill to white so that it's up here. Maybe it's going to show you where that is. The tints are here, and we just need to take the foreground white, and then we could take for this shape that we made, duplicate it down here for the shades, and it just looks a little bit better design wise, and it just makes it easier to read, so that when you are doing your tints and shades, you could really tell the difference between your tints row and your shades row. So, and then we have, make it a little easier words. Primary is P, secondary is S, tertiary is T, and you have your little guide here telling you what this does. You could put the circle around it, but I just wanted to show you. So these boxes, or these circles up here, all have to be filled when you mix the clay. You only should be having your black is only used down here for the shades. Your tint, you're using white, and then you're mixing a little bit of the color next to it. You should put your colors, when you're mixing the colors in the clay, next to each other before you put it on the paper. You don't need a whole lot. You just have to have a little bit, and just push it onto the paper.
You don't really need a whole lot to mix with. I'm only going to take a little bit of these two, that is using the red here, and then I'm using a little bit of the yellow. I'm going to mix with that. I'm only going to use, since I'm going to a yellow-orange, I'm just going to use more yellow than red. So I'm going to take a little tiny piece of red, and then I'm going to take a little bit more yellow. So I'm just going to mix these. You don't need to put a whole lot. So you're going to see how when you mix it, you only need a little bit to cover the whole circle. So you shouldn't see big globs of clay on the paper. You only need like the surface covered, and that's it. And this is where, make sure you mix it up real good so that you get an even mixed color. So here I mixed it up. I'm going to put it into like a little ball here, put it into the middle, and then you can see you just press on it and you even it out. I'm just pressing and moving it off to the side. And you can see how it fills. And that's just by that little bit of little ball that I made. You see next to each other so now if you do your tints and shades, you're going to start with the color on this side, and then on the other side you're going to use the white and use the black as the very last ones.